Alrighty, welcome back to Versus Live, and my name's Corey Ballmeister.
And I'm Ross Merriam.
And we got Rob in the booth. Say, basketball is super fun, and I love it, Rob.
Basketball is super fun, and I love it, Rob.
All right, nailed it. Rob will be taking all your questions, comments, concerns, and burns in the chat. Make sure to tag at Star City Games. He will get his favorite questions sent over to us. Make sure to get those. Is it in historic? Questions as well in there, because that is a pretty fun game.
Here's a good one to start.
All right, let's start it.
All right, so Black Market or Darksteel Rector. Now, do either of you know what those cards do?
Nope.
Okay.
Do you?
I'm trying to think, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, so Darksteel Rector is a 4-mana artifact. Darksteel Rector is indestructible. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a charge counter on Darksteel Rector. Or Reactor, not Rector. I'm terrible at reading. When Darksteel Reactor has 20 or more charge counters on it, you win the game.
Okay.
Or Black Market, which is a black enchantment. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, put a charge counter on Black Market. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add black to your mana pool equal to the number of charge counters on Black Market. It's a 3 black.
Wow, this is a tough one. I'm going to say it was the first one.
I'm also going to go with
because
Black Market.
No, I think we went the opposite.
You want to go with Darksteel Reactor?
Yeah, I think I was going with Darksteel Reactor.
Okay, he's going Reactor. I'm going Black Market.
All right, what do we got?
They're both in historic.
Oh, come on. That's not the game. That's not the game. Who played that game incorrectly?
Hobbitses.
God.
Chat wanted. I was like, should I do this, chat? And they're like, yeah, obviously.
Of course, chat is going to tell you to do it.
If you ever ask, should I do this trolley thing, chat is, of course, going to be like, yes. All right, I love it. So we are continuing our Pioneer voyage here, heading to round number 2 here. Well, I'm going to be playing Niv to Light, the most played deck right now. The deck that is, the trophy leader. I believe it's Claudio for Pioneer.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly who the player is, but played against him, and the only reason I knew is because we chatted quite a bit. Been playing Niv-Mizzet for a long time. Has decided to go away from the Yorion build and go back to the other one, and I think that's reasonable. This is probably the worst Yorion deck I've ever played, and that's saying something because we're tight. I normally don't talk trash about my precious Bird Serpent, but it doesn't come up much. You
don't really need the second Niv-Mizzet trigger most of the time.
Most of the time, your Niv-Mizzet gets you to a second Niv-Mizzet with Bring to Light anyways.
Yeah.
So
it's just a bit of extra value, and when the bans happened, we talked about how the major dynamic was mid-range is going to be back, and this is sort of the ultimate mid-range deck. It generates so much value. It has a great toolbox to match up against different matchups because of Bring to Light.
Yep.
And can play basically all the best removal and interaction.
Yep.
Can even dip into Fatal Push and Thoughtseize when it needs to. So this is the king of mid-range decks.
Yep.
It's suppressed Sultai to some extent, which sort of used to be the king of mid-range decks.
To a huge extent, actually.
So this is definitely the deck du jour right now when it is somewhat of a mid-range format. But there are certainly ways to attack it. And when it comes to attacking it, I like this Naya Winoda deck because I can, just run you over in games where you don't interact that well early. And this deck, relative to versions that you've seen in other formats, has both a ton of ways to help play through sweepers and a ton of ways to stop them from profitably interacting with your Winoda on the turn you cast it. And those both come from the same spot. It's with Tithe Taker and Voice of Resurgence in that 2-mana slot. They're both 2-body creatures that give you something that survives the sweeper and really gives you some value or stops them from even playing the spell to react it to your Winoda. So those cards are really, really important. You do also have that mana creature into Legion Warboss curve.
That's scary.
That can really run people over, so you're not as reliant on Winoda. But you also have more consistent access to Winoda because of Eldritch Evolution. So you effectively have 8 Winodas. You're going to draw it more often. So there's a lot to like about this deck. It is also a deck that, rather than just using Winoda as a way to get some value and really create a huge battlefield, generally just kills you. It'll
Yeah.
hit Angrath Marauders, and then you're dead.
Exactly. And honestly, these two decks, and for the exact same reasons that you were just describing, is why I chose to play Jeskai Luka. And I put like a full day into perfecting a list, because first you just start with a standard Jeskai Luka list, right? Because it can't change that
We're playing
much.
Pioneer, though.
Exactly. But I mean, there wasn't too many changes I made, but the changes I did make were with these two decks in mind. First of all, this may be the king of mid-range, but Luka beats this deck quite handily, I learned, and that was why I wanted to play it. Just because you don't have to care about their Niv-Mizzets resolving. Like, sure, they will end the game with 8 cards. It's what's going to happen, you know? But stealing their Niv-Mizzets and doing stuff like that is fine. And I added a bunch of Chain to the Rocks to be able to deal with those two-bodied creatures and eliminate that factor. And I also played like Grafdigger's Cage in my sideboard, even though it shuts down Luka decks. But I was trying to be big-brained and play Cage early, and then when I wanted to Luka something in, Yorion out the Cage, and then Luka out your Yorion to bring an agent, or Luka out a token or something like that. I think I figured out that was bad, and I ended up cutting those. I also never played against Winoda, which I was pretty shocked. Everyone was saying that was going to be like the best deck, and it didn't do particularly well either.
I mean, you saw it around. It did not crack into the top 8, but it's definitely in top 16s. There was the regular challenge over the weekend as well. This is the 9th place list from that event. But
God got 9th? That sucks for that person.
Yeah. There's a lot in top 16. So this deck is knocking on the door of top 8s of both events. It's definitely right there.
Okay.
It's a deck that is quite powerful. And I like the added consistency in just finding Winoda, because this is a version of the deck that really, outside of that turn 2 War Boss draw, really doesn't need Winoda, because its aggro plane is not super robust outside of that curve.
And then Eldritch Evolution, like, you can sack a 2-drop to get Winoda. It's +2.
Yep.
And then it works through Teferi, right? Or
it's just a.
It's not like Bring to Light where you cast the spell. It just puts it into play.
Yeah,
okay, just making sure I knew that, because those are two things that could definitely come up.
Yeah, it does not work through Grafdigger's Cage.
Nothing does. Okay. So you get to start.
I do.
You could let me go first, though, if you want.
I'll decline that.
Okay.
Hold your hand a little low.
Mine? Oh, yeah, okay. That's good.
Hand is already kind of meh and doesn't have Winoda.
Okay.
I think I'm going to send this one back.
I'm going to keep. It's nothing, extra extraordinary here, but it's fine. The one thing about these Winoda decks, with like what they're trying to do, is if you don't kill right on the spot, so let's say you only have one trigger, I do have, just wrath effects, and I think those are usually good enough, but I mean, some games do not work out that way at all, and it just runs it over. So I'll be curious how this matchup goes. I'm guessing, these Niv to Light players, Nassif being one of them, that's just been playing this deck since the beginning of time because he just has fun with this strategy, and I don't blame him. But I'm sure he has a great plan for the matchup, and must not be too afraid of it, but we'll see.
We will see. Ugh, come on. Seeing a green source in this hand is perfect, but I don't have it, and so I have to go 5.
All right. Chat, do we got any forward chants, and do we also have a question from you, Rob?
Yeah, Leo the Magic Man wants to know, what's the best combo deck remaining in Pioneer?
The best combo deck right now in Pioneer?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be the Lotus Field deck, because I think that's the only one that's, like, alive, right? Like, I don't...
There is also the Possibility Storm deck.
Yeah. So it's definitely the Lotus Field.
I think a good build of Possibility Storm, a good build of that deck is essentially just a mediocre Gruul deck, but that also is a combo.
Okay.
And, Gruul is playable in the format. It's not great.
Yeah.
So you've got 2 plans that are at least viable that both work. I've also seen that deck build recently. I think it was in the League deck dump. Somebody 5-0'd with just Teamer Adventures with Possibility Storm. You're playing the adventure creatures anyway to make Possibility Storm work, and it just played Lucky Clover and Fertile Footsteps. And
interesting.
Yeah. That kind of thing can ramp you into the combo, right? You can just turn 4 people now by going turn 2 Clover, turn 3 Fertile Footsteps, turn 4, suddenly you've got 6 mana, and you can go Possibility Storm. Or
the thing that's different for Adventures being good in Pioneer versus Standard for me is the large showing of Abrupt Decays. Like, Lucky Clover is good in Standard because you just can't kill that card. You know, like that's just a huge hole in Standard. But there's a lot of Abrupt Decays, but maybe that doesn't matter that much.
Is there a lot of Abrupt Decays?
Yeah, I mean, all the Niv decks play like 4 of them.
No, they play like 2.
Oh, well. What do I know? I've been playing Jeskai Lucas.
Yeah, I guess when you're Yorin, you probably play more, but it's effectively less because you have 80 cards. But I think I played Niv last week when we did Pioneer, and the list I had was 3 Dreadbore, 2 Decay.
Okay.
I remember correctly, which I always do.
Always do.
Okay.
I'm going to dispute that.
Pay 3.
This is a good hand. As far as 5-card hands go, this one's pretty nice. So
all right. I'm
going to
scared.
send those ones back, and I will lead on a Stomping Ground tap.
All right. I have a Triome, but which color? They're always Triomes. All right, we'll go like this one.
Okay. I'm going to go to 18 and play Voice of Resurgence.
Okay.
Pass the turn.
I won't be playing anything during your turn, though. Trust me. All right. I am going to play a Sylvan Caryatid. Here go.
Now my voice can't attack. Okay, I'll play a Legion Warboss, get a Cedric, and attack with that in voice.
I will block that.
You go to 19, and I'll pass the turn.
All right. Now, of course, I have to be terrified of the possibility of Naya Winoda there. It's 19 to 20 on tap. And I don't have too many great plays to stop this from happening. I think I'm pretty forced to just say if you got it, you got it here. So I'm going to take 2.
17.
And I'm going to go with a Abrupt Decay plus a Sylvan Caryatid. Your go. Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. Hold his breath. And land one of it. Yep. Wow. Why would you do such a thing to me?
2 triggers.
Okay.
2 triggers here is not super scary, but
Yeah.
All
right. I need to pull up.
I'll put an Angrass Marauders onto the battlefield.
Okay.
So that's a good hit to start.
Yep.
And now I just need 1 more, and then you're dead.
All right. That's definitely got to be true.
That one's a Mana Confluence.
Okay.
One's a Llanowar.
Okay.
Okay, this one's a human.
Uh-oh.
Okay, we only hit the 1 human. But Time Taker's a nice one because it's just another attacker, more pressure, and it means that if you have a sweeper next turn, I'll have 2 bodies left over.
I'm trying to look what I can possibly bring to light for, because I do have that. And just to see if I can stay alive.
Event?
I do have an Extinction Event, yeah.
So Extinction Event on even would just cleanly deal with these 4.
Ooh.
It would also deal with your Caryatids.
Yeah. I have Hour of Devastation
that would actually still leave you dead, though, right?
Yeah. Hour of Devastation doesn't do it either.
So let's say you block here.
But then this dies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you need it. Well, I think... So this is a lethal attack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is 9 damage that gets
So no matter what I have to block. Okay, yeah. I'm just in a lot of trouble because I need the land too. But
so you're going to take 10, go to 7.
Okay.
So even if you have an untapped land into... if you have an untapped land where you don't take any damage, I only have 3 power.
Yeah.
So you could even shock, and that would be fine.
Okay. I don't, though. But I don't. I don't think this utter end is going to be enough. I think it's going to be utter disappointing here. So yeah, I am dead.
Yeah, and if you did have to shock, I did have the lethal with the Warboss.
Yeah,
I was thinking about Warbossing last turn and like setting up for a bigger Winoda, but this is also a good follow-up to a sweeper. And I'm just like, you're tapped out. Just go for it. Yeah,
I really could not do anything. I mean, I interacted. I played the amount of spells that my deck allows. I really can't play 1-drops. I played 2-drops.
Turn 2 Caryatid, turn 3 Caryatid plus Decay, set up for turn 5 Bring to Light, or turn 4 Bring to Light.
Yeah,
is about what your deck wants to do.
Exactly.
I'm all going to 5.
Scary matchup. Scary matchup. Winoda is a heck of a Magic card. I'm going to see what kind of tools I have in the sideboard to deal with. We are going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Sideboarding here on Versus Live. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Sideboarding here on Versus Live with 5-color Niv-Mizzet up against Naya Winoda. For me, pretty easy sideboarding. These were really the only 4 cards I needed, and all of these 4 cards are pretty bad. I mean, there is some thought to slaughter gamesing on the play, but not on the draw. But it's only to draw it, and be able to play it before you turn 4.
Caryatid, you can bring to light it on turn 4 on the play, but even then I can Winoda turn 3.
Exactly, that's the thing. So it very likely is going to be a dead card, and I would have to get very lucky to. I think I'd have to have it in my opener and slaughter games you on turn 3. So I don't think that kind of stuff is worth it. I would rather just try to control the actual problem, which are the creatures, and then once Gravy Genius, because you're an aggro deck, if I ever get to get that going, should be pretty good. So
on my side, I want to bring in some Chandras, help insulate myself against the bevy of sweepers out of the Niv-Mizzet deck. I am cutting Pia and Kieran, which sort of plays into sweepers. It's not a great hit off of Winoda against sweeper decks, because that's what they're going to need to clean up the Winoda stuff anyway. And I don't think it's super powerful in this matchup because the Thopters, get blocked by Niv-Mizzet, and it gives you a little bit of reach, but that's what Chandra does in just a much more resilient package. So I'm reducing my human density for Winoda, but I'm not expecting to Winoda as easily in the post-board games anyway.
Yeah.
I just need more individually powerful, resilient cards, and this keeps my curve the same as well, which is nice.
I like it. Okay, makes sense to me. Still pretty afraid of Winoda. I'm surprised I didn't play against it more. Obviously I could have just dodged a decent amount, but even our own Andrew Ellenbogen wrote about Naya Winoda just being the best deck in Pioneer by a lot, and he's usually pretty on with his aggro decks, and that's a bold statement, and he is not necessarily the bold statement guy. Not the clickbait croakies style, but so I was really fearing it, and I respected it a lot, even putting a card that destroys my own deck into my sideboard to be able to deal with it in the form of Grafdigger's Cage.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that people need to get used to, if you're going to pick up a deck like this, you got to mulligan aggressively.
Oh yeah,
I had an okay 7-card hand. There's like 2 lands, couple 2-drops, a couple 3-drops, and a Pia and Kieran or something like that.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people would keep a hand like that on 7 and just say, I've got a reasonable curve of stuff, just draw some lands.
I'd like you to keep that hand next time, please.
But in a deck like this, you can do really powerful things even on 5 cards, as you saw in that game 1. So we're really got to keep out for that aggressive mulliganing when you're a synergy-driven aggro deck.
Yeah, so you're saying that deck's not for me, huh?
No.
I'm not the most aggressive mulliganing type, let me tell you. All right, I'm going to start. All right. This hand is okay. I mean, we do our thing. It's a little slow, but I don't think this is a mulligan, so I'll keep.
I will be keeping my hand as well.
Your go.
I will go to 18 and play a Llanowar Elves.
Alrighty.
Pass the turn.
One more. Okay, that was a decent draw on our part. I think we want to take 2 and play a Sylvan Caryatid.
18 all.
Your go. How is that not a human? How is that an elf druid? That's just not fair.
I'm going to play a Tithe Taker and an Elvish Mystic.
Okay.
Pass the turn.
All right, of course, I am terrified of the possibility of Winoda next turn, and I don't have a ton I can actually do about it. So I could just be dead next turn. Hooray! All right, Oath.
Sure.
None of these are particularly great either. I think I just want the land. Could take, so it's between land and Sylvan Caryatid. If I just play Caryatid, and then a land, that's not great. That's not great.
It's kind of what you did last game. It didn't really work out for you.
To be fair, if you do have land Winoda, you're only getting one trigger here. That's not that scary. So I do think I'm going to take Caryatid. Put these at the bottom. Then I'll play this. And I'm going to play Fabled Passage. Do not wait till your opponent's turn when you have Type Taker. This has happened to me before. So I'm going to sack this, get a basic of some kind, and then it'll be your turn.
I do have land Winoda, but
of course you do,
gets me
Ross.
2 triggers because it's Eldritch Evolution on this Type Taker.
Wow, you're a jerk.
So I'm going to go to 17 from this Mana Confluence. I'm going to get a Jadean Spirit Token.
Has anyone told you you're a jerk today?
My Winoda. And let's attack with these elves and get 2 Winoda triggers.
You didn't answer my question. Has anyone told you today?
You text
that
me
you're being
every
a jerk?
morning.
Yeah, you're right.
I get a text at like 10 o'clock every morning that just says, you're a jerk.
Yeah.
I don't believe Corey's up at 10 in the morning.
I was just going to say, don't accuse me of getting up by 10 a.m., sir. All right, spin it.
Just need to hit 2 Angrass Marauders, and then we're done here. Oh, there's one. This Winoda card is really good. Has anybody figured it out yet? Am I the first?
You're the first, yep. You're the first one to play this card.
There's the second one.
Jesus! Am I just dead?
Yeah, you take 6 and it gets quadrupled.
Oh, they'd stack?
Yeah.
Oh, my...
wasn't even at all what my opening hand's plan was, but I drew. So my opening hand, my plan was to curve Elf, Garruk's Harbinger, Chandra.
Yeah.
Go from there, like generate a bunch of card advantage.
It seems great.
And you figure out what to do. And I literally drew. These were my first 3 draws of the game.
I guess the Magic Gods are letting it slide for last round where you were just drawing all lands. So that seems only fair. Well, luckily we got time for a pity game.
No, these were my first 2 draws of the game. So yeah, I had both elves.
Yeah.
Right. I think my hand was it was like 2 elves, these 2 and 3 lands.
Okay.
And 2 lands. And my 4 draws were just these 2 and 2 lands.
Corey was hoping for a much different clip of the day.
I was hoping for a much different clip of the day. Oh, it's going to be happening next round with Luca. You have no fear. Well, yeah, it'll probably be you destroying me with your aggressive deck, but...
all I need is 2 Angrass Marauders, and then we're done here.
Yeah.
Look, 2 Angrass Marauders.
Just so lucky. You know, looking at the top 6 cards and then putting creatures into play, Collected Company comes into Historic today online. How are you already essentially doing it?
Yeah, but I'm putting 7 drops into play.
Yeah, that's not fair.
None of these pooping 3 drops.
All right, Rob, you got a question while we shuffle up for our third game, aka the pity game?
I do. So Urberg wants to know, what about Niv-Mizzet what about Niv-Mizzet helps suppress the other mid-range decks? Specifically, you mentioned Sultai. So like what makes it that top mid-range deck in the format?
There's a couple reasons, but like Sultai is trying to answer threats on a 1-for-1 basis. They're trying to fatal push things, they're trying to Thoughtseize stuff from your hand, and they can get to the point where they strip you of resources, and then all of a sudden you have 8 cards in your deck as the Niv-Mizzet deck to just play a 6/6, which is already a problem to deal with because it's not pushable because it's a 5-drop, and it usually nets you around 3.5 cards or something like that. It's just the value that these decks gain cannot be answered on a 1-for-1 basis, so it essentially kills these kind of mid-range decks. Yeah. You have to be doing something that goes over the top of it or goes under it, like you just saw. You kind of went under it and over the top of it, but yeah.
It's the incredible value, like Corey said, and then the versatility of Bring to Light. You get to play these bullets for certain matchups that are really, really powerful and find them consistently. So it really just has very good tools in games that are going to go long and where your opponent is playing lots of 1-for-1s, and that's what mid-range decks are doing. Yeah. They're playing, 1-for-1s and card advantage, but they're playing more to the board, and that's the game that Niv-Mizzet wants to play, and it's really good at playing that kind of game.
Yep.
And I think a big thing with Niv-Mizzet was that it was prone to flooding, and it's a lot less prone to flooding now with Triumphs.
Yeah.
So
and honestly, we've been seeing this in Standard for the last like 2 months, and it's like the traditional mid-range decks. Like think back to Golgari with Vivian Reed, Vraska's Contempt. I think that was in there. Just a bunch of black spot removal. Vivian to redraw your things. What was it? Carnage Tyrant to be your threat that you can't really kill. Like that kind of deck. You pair that up against these Simic decks that are drawing a bunch of cards with Hydroid Krasis and Nissa to gain advantage. Hydroid Krasis is essentially the Niv-Mizzet of Standard. It really shuts down those style of mid-range decks because sure, you're killing stuff on a 1-for-1 basis. That's cool. And then all of a sudden, you have all this mana and you just Krasis for 8. You have 4 more cards now and you're holding 2 removals. You kill it, but now I dump my hand again and then the game's not close. Uro's the same reason. Uro and Hydroid Krasis together are kind of mid-range killers because you don't kill Uro. You just delay it for a little bit because we don't have any super good exile effects. So, like, Sultai is the best we got of a 1-for-1 deck, and that's because Extinction Events exiles and Narset shuts down Hydroid Krasis. And that's the only reason that we have somewhat of a mid-range deck.
And those are the important bullets for Niv-Mizzet in that Sultai matchup, is they have some exile-based removal to deal with Uro permanently. Because otherwise, there's a chance that Sultai could just play out the game long enough and eventually take over, because Uro is always going to win the super long game over the quick burst of card advantage that Niv-Mizzet provides. Niv-Mizzet, if your Uro is just going to die immediately and it generated 1 extra card, that's a lot worse than Niv-Mizzet that's generating 3 extra cards when you first cast it and then dies immediately.
Exactly.
But Uro, is going to get escaped back. But that's not the case when you just have that 1 Utter End and 1 Extinction Event in your deck and 4 Bring to Light, so that you just are able to exile it in key spots and then take over because you were able to generate so much more immediate card advantage.
And on top of that, it's also an Uro deck. So you're gaining that advantage from Niv-Mizzet, and half the time you have to discard at the end of your turn because you got like 4 cards off Niv-Mizzet. So you discard Uro, 2 other cards, and now all of a sudden if they deal with Niv-Mizzet, now they have a full hand to deal with, plus Uro as an option. So there's a plethora of reasons why mid-range is being contained right now, but those would be the biggest ones. And that's why I decided to play Luca again. I'll talk a little bit more about the deck when we get it, but that was my approach for that tournament as well. Okay, so pity game. I'm going to try to win one.
Keyword there is try.
Oh yeah. You mean try Ohm? Yeah, this is close.
Okay, well, mine's not, so. It's a 2-lander with no 1 or 2 drops.
Yeah. I have good interaction this time, and that's something I have been lacking. But my mana base is awkward. Who would have guessed in a 5-color deck? I am going to keep, though.
Gonna keep?
Keeping.
That seems unfair.
I know. All right, you got a question for us, Rob?
I have another What's in Historic from Histeus.
Okay.
There's been a real MVP on those, I'll be honest. Kinsbale Cavalier or Fiery Impulse?
Huh.
Okay, what's the first one?
Yeah.
Kinsbale Cavalier is a 3 and a white for a 2/2. Kithkin Knight. Knight creatures you control have double strike.
It's the Knight. It's Cavalier.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll trust you because I have not seen Fiery Impulse, so.
You are correct. It is Cavalier.
We're crushing this.
Gotta get up pretty early.
Yeah. God, this would be this would be a fun game to play.
Saying is not great, but I am going to keep it. A couple of good draws. It has potential.
Passage go.
Is the reason here. That is not a good draw. Sacred Foundry, go.
Okay. I will sack this. Get a Schwamp.
It's possible I was supposed to mulligan this hand, but
that's all right. You already won the match.
Yeah. I do know I made that point about aggressively mulliganing here, but you do mulligan a little bit less aggressively in the post-sideboard games.
Yeah.
Because you know your opponent's going to interact more. You're going to need more total resources.
That is totally true. Okay, Triumph, pass to you.
Okay. That one will play. I'll play Rootbound Crag and Llanowells.
Okay.
Pass turn.
Bang. Untap. That was a pretty good draw. What do we want to play? I think it's safer to just play this. So we're going to go Caryatid and Overrun Tomb. Your go.
Okay, I've got Forest and Garruk's Harbinger. Another nice addition to this deck. Easy card to cast off of a turn 1 Llanowells. You're actually guaranteed to be able to cast it. And there's a lot of black removal around right now. It helps find your Winodas.
Yeah, that seems pretty good.
Just a reasonable creature on its own. 3 mana, 4 power.
All right, I'll use my black removal spell to kill it. Your go.
No land, though.
Nope.
Interesting. Well, I don't really have a good follow-up, so we'll play a tapped land and another elf.
Okay.
And you can go.
All right. Ugh. Well, I really wanted a land, believe it or not. So I think we're going to start with this, and if we get a land, we get to do a little something extra, but I'm going to Uro.
Brings you to 23.
23. Draw. Did hit the land, and then just play Caryatid. Your go.
Okay, well, I have Winoda.
All right.
So we'll attack and trigger it.
Okay.
And put those on the bottom.
Block!
And pass the turn.
Doesn't always work now, does it, buddy? Okay. So now I got a plethora of options here, and it's just which one is the best.
Corey breaking out his thesaurus here.
Thank you.
At one point, like 3 or 4 years ago, we got a staff email telling everyone to stop using the word plethora so often.
Really?
For some reason, just everybody was using it a lot.
All right, I'm just going to start with Niv-Mizzet.
Please stop using this word. I've seen it 30 times in the last week.
I like that. Let's use it more. Okay, so I got these two and a Dreadbore, and the rest go on the bottom. All right, and then I'll Fatal Push the Elf. Your go.
Now you've got chat using it. Now you've got chat using plethora.
Nice. I mean, our chat already offers a plethora of different options in games of what to do. Make this play, don't make this play. So might as well keep the plethora alive. All right, well, now you're dead. You are dead. Now it's time for Niv-Mizzet to have some fun. So let's go with Teferi Time Raveler. Does that resolve?
Yep.
Okay. Now I'm going to bounce Tithe Taker. I'm going to play a land. I'm going to attack for 6.
I'm at 14.
And let's go with blue-black. Thought Erasure you. Wow. I will take Tithe Taker.
Yeah. I kept 4 lands, Harbinger, Winoda.
I'll put that in the yard, and then I'll pass to you.
Putting Bring to Light in the graveyard.
Does that feel good?
I mean, I just can't imagine ever doing that. What are you looking for?
Well, what if I have multiple Bring to Lights on hand?
What card is better than that?
A land.
Unless you absolutely...
A land so I can multi-spell?
I guess.
Yeah. I already have... You don't need a second Bring to Light when you can just go get another Niv-Mizzet. You just restock up.
Attack Teferi.
All right, I'll get a land and despark it. Let's get a white land.
Play Winoda.
Oh, you had another one? God, how lucky.
Pass the turn.
Oh, God.
After's untapped. Oh, no, you tapped it.
Yeah, I played it. Untap. Top deck Bring to Light. Who's smart now, huh, Ross? Still probably not me. Okay.
Really neither of us.
Really neither. We're gonna tick
Chat
up.
is the smart one.
That's true.
They're the brains of this operation.
All right. How about we just go like this? Dreadbore this, play the Scarabian Genius, and attack for 6.
I go to 8.
God, I want to trigger Winoda. Here go. Do I have any hits in my deck? I don't think so. Any humans? No, but I'm going to try. Okay.
Pass the turn.
All right. Upkeep. I will bring your Winoda back.
I'm going to go to 7.
Yeah.
You're going to scry 1.
7, scry 1. I don't want that. Draw. Okay. Now
Winoda doesn't have haste.
I'll attack. Triggers. Wow, how unlucky. Second trigger.
I don't think there's a hit in your deck.
Wow, 2 misses off Winoda. This is not my day.
Okay, block Scarab God, go to 1.
Okay, your go. Oh, I'll put Yorion. That's about as much as Yorion actually does in this matchup, is you get to put in your hand once.
I can't believe I ended up 1 mana short of my Angerous Marauders.
Yeah, it's probably not a good sign, huh? All right, well, I didn't think I'd be triggering Winoda today.
Yeah. And you got to see the 2 faces of Winoda decks. That's true in every format where the deck can definitely be very feast or famine-y.
Yep.
Maybe should have mulliganed that hand. Thought if I just, if I hit a 2-drop there, I think, a 6-card hand that curves Voice or Tithe Taker into Harbinger into Winoda is great.
I agree.
And if I draw an Elf on turn 1, then that hand is awesome. So, I've got 1 draw to 16 outs and a 2nd draw to 8 outs to make that hand good.
Yeah.
On 53 cards left in my deck. So, I'm a little under a third into about a little better than a 7th. So you're looking at maybe 70,
mathematics,
50, you're like 40% to have that hand be good.
Yeah.
Maybe,
and I actually kept a hand with like spot removal that game. The first 2 games I kept like caryatid into 4-drop removal. Like I had Utter End one time, but you got under me exactly, or I didn't draw an untapped land, something like that. But that game, I mean, I only kept a 2-lander, but I had Fatal Push, so I played Passage first so I could push your 1-drop regardless. And I mean, that was important, but you still just, it wasn't super important, but
I mean, I did have the Winoda on 4, so without push and without that extinction event too.
Yeah.
I could have definitely, created a pretty huge battlefield there.
Yeah, I guess my removal spells were great. So
yeah, so that I think that was important, and that does show another dynamic. Like, if we go head to head and you don't interact on the first 3 to 4 turns, I'm gonna roll you over with a good draw.
And I think on the play, Teferi Time Reveler is actually an amazing card against you. Just the tempo loss to get me to turn 5, so then I can like bring to light on your turn. So in combat, I can extinction event you. Is pretty insane. But yeah, I experienced the true variants of Winoda way back in the E-League, when Luca was still a deck. Me and Juza were testing together, so we were both in that top 8. He was playing like Bant Flash or something, and I was playing Luca. He ended up beating me and taking it down. But we were both looking at Mibu's deck.
I like the story to just end at him beating you.
Yeah.
You don't have to go any further.
That was brutal. But we were looking at Mibu's deck and
Emma Handy, right?
And Emma Handy were playing Winoda, and it was like
4-color Winoda with Arboreal Grazers.
Yeah, and agents and stuff, so that it was a very, very high variance deck. And like me and Juza were like, okay, let's both test this separately and we'll figure out what's up. He played against it, and I played against it, and he's like, yeah, this feels bad. I got absolutely destroyed. And I'm like, really? Because my opponent did nothing at all, and I won every game, not even close. So, and then we just realized that it's a very high variance deck, and it's not really too different here. It's a little less variance, though, because of the Eldritch Evolution.
A little less variance, a little bit faster because of the mana creatures, and the individual cards are a little bit more powerful. You're not playing Arboreal Grazer. You get to play things like Legion Warboss and Gareth's Harbinger and Voice of Resurgence. Those are cards that can absolutely win a game.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons that I like this version of the deck, because it has a much better backup plan when Winoda doesn't hit, and still just hits Winoda pretty consistently and does so efficiently. Most of the time you're sacrificing to Eldritch Evolution, Voice of Resurgence, and Tithe Taker, so that you're getting a creature back. It can't attack immediately, but you get to attack with everything else, and you have this huge battlefield. So definitely a deck that, if you're a fan of aggressive decks, I think it's one of the better ones in the format, and something that you need to be respecting right now in Pioneer.
Agreed. Winoda is still a very scary card in Pioneer and Standard. We're 1-1 so far, and now we're both kind of playing our favorite decks. And, it should be an interesting matchup. I could see this one going either way. I'm going to be playing Jeskai Luka, my updated version that I took 9th from. I noticed a couple holes that I need to fill, mostly against blue-white control, so not going to be super relevant here, but I do think this list is much better than the one I top 8'd with. But that being said, my 2 iffy matchups are blue-white control and spirit style decks. I mostly mean blue-white spirits, but you're playing a little bit different of a take, aren't you?
This is sort of the breakout deck from the weekend. It made the semifinals of the Pioneer Showcase Challenge. It's Simic Spirits. And so, you give up Spell Queller, which is the big loss, but you turn it into more of a deck that is akin to the mono blue aggro deck that we saw in Standard last year with Curious Obsession, and it plays the green Curious Obsession, Blossoming Defense as its protection spell. And that style of gameplay works really well with Spirits. And I think it really Lofty Denial is the key that ties the entire room together. I wrote my article this week on Spirits that is live right now on StarCityGames.com. So a deck I really like, and I'm very smitten with the Simic version of it.
Well, we're both smitten by our deck, and we will see who will come out with the smitten mittens.
No.
Okay. All right. We'll just see who wins the marbles then. How about that? We're going to take a short 7-minute break, and then we'll be right back for our final match here on Versus Live.